Alright, everybody. I mean, I'm not even gonna do my usual intro where I talk about how much you should know that I don't like Hassan, nor am I even gonna do my whole breakdown of the many times in which he has indicated the fact that his politics are not very genuine or sincere, more so than he has very strong emotions attached to certain issues, and an audience who basically has him held hostage at this point, as his numbers continue to drop, forcing him to niche down further and become more audience captured to the audience that he still has. And, you know, I get my fair share of shit even from my fans for criticizing Hassan because they still like him, even after all the defending Russia stuff, the defending China stuff, the now defending Iran stuff, it seems. And of course, defending Hamas and many other things. His politics are basically just he hates America, despite being at the top of the social and economic ladder in America. And he makes his millions off of shit-talking America and praising its enemies. So, with that in mind, he put out a video where, very much in character for himself, he ends up sensationalizing what has happened recently with Iran launching a drone, like a volley of drones at Israel. Now, obviously, there's some cause for worry, I think. It's not like, I don't think it's malicious if you're worried or kind of, you know, afraid when stuff like this happens. Certainly of, like, say, American soldier boots on the ground in Iran or back in the Middle East or whatever. But this is very unlikely. Biden has even said that this isn't happening. And I really am getting tired of this constant World War III is about to happen. There's about to be another draft. Sort of fear-mongering that pretty much everybody does, right and left, but Hassan, notably, is one of the biggest lefty figures who does this kind of thing. There's never going to be another draft. World War III is not coming. And hating America is not a valid political, like, ideal, you know? Like, everything America does is bad by principle, rather than on a case-by-case basis, considering the evidence and the parties involved. Regardless, we're gonna go ahead and watch this video, because it's now getting Hassan absolutely cooked on Twitter. For just an example, I'm gonna take a sip of water and read just a few of these tweets. These are all people's responses to just the title and thumbnail of Hassan's video. Hassan swings and misses again, from Alt History Cody. Yo, can we talk about how irresponsible Hassan is being with his platform and huge audience, or with his huge platform and audience? From DShadow25? Yeah, it's a good point. Hassan rates... Oh, that's nothing to do with this. God, please draft Hassan into the army. Oh, come on. You can do this, mouse. El Hassan. Nothing ever happens. This is, of course, a very important thing you guys need to remember. Nothing ever happens, alright? Listen to me, Nothing Bros. We hold the line. Nothing ever happens. Nothing will happen. Nothing's gonna happen from all this. We're holding the line. Nothing ever happens, okay? God. I love that meme. Anyway, we really do hope that nothing ever happens, to be very fair here. We do not want World War III, a draft, or nuclear war. It's not going to happen. But Hassan is desperate to drum up, like, concern clicks, views, and, you know, attention. And so he decided to say World War III is about to happen. This really is just sort of in character for Hassan, but for some reason I thought he might be above this type of obvious clickbait. Anyway, let's take a look at the video. It's 30 whole ass minutes long, and Hassan is, like, really... Like, I can't stand the guy, so we're probably not watching the whole thing, but I did turn it up to 1.3 times speed, so we'll get a fair chunk of it watched, you know? Let's see. Why does Hassan think World War III is going to happen? The least trustworthy predictor of anything involving foreign policy and war... in all of the lefty sphere, let's hear his predictions about how this is going to lead to World War III. At least we know now it's not going to happen because he said it will.
Netanyahu's warplane is out. It's in the air. Drones are on their way. Iraqi security officials have confirmed that dozens of one-way suicide drones have been detected over southern and eastern Iraq after entering via Iranian airspace, and that they are heading west. So let's see where this goes. Here it is. These drones will likely take many hours to reach Israel if launched from Iran. If cruise missiles are used, they are likely to be launched in the coming hours, as they take a few hours to reach Israel, and then ballistic missiles will be launched last if they are to be used, and they take less than 10 minutes to reach Israel. Will the Turkish...
Let's count how many times Hassan uses Twitter links solely as his sources for things. I know this is when everything was initially unfolding, but let's see if Hassan goes anywhere other than Twitter at any point in this video, at least the parts that we watch, to get his information. Because it's always really funny when you watch a Hassan segment where he's like making an argument or like researching something, and you see all of his research tabs and all of his like, here's his evidence and where he's getting his news from tabs, and they're all Twitter links. Like, there'll be one or two like Al Jazeera links in there, maybe like one link to, I don't even know, just some fucking tanky shit, but it's pretty much all Twitter links just crammed together on that bar above everything else.
U.S. bases will drag Turkey into it. I mean, we'll see. Depending on how Israel retaliates, because remember, Israel is the country that bombed, technically, Iranian soil in Damascus, in Syria.
He's not wrong about that. Yes, this is a retaliatory attack from Iran.
By bombing the Iranian consulate compound. This was a direct violation of international law. This was a direct violation and also a major escalation in this conflict. It's not about Israel showing restraint. It's about what America does. It was about what America does from the jump. The fact that Joe Biden, after October 7, gave a bare...
Wait. It's about what America does? I mean, this is insane. For one, regardless of if America did anything right now in support of or neutral to Israel, Israel has a pretty powerful arsenal behind it due to decades and decades and decades of American private military corporation, like manufacturing and shipping, and the U.S. supplying them with funds and excess military equipment. So they have like quite the arsenal for retaliation and an even further escalation from what Iran did. Now, it's interesting to me that he's admitted that this was an escalation, but is now saying the ball is in America's court. So what is the response from this supposed to be? Is America supposed to tell Netanyahu, hey, yeah, so listen, don't retaliate in any way against Iran for this, and also stop fighting Hamas at all because there might be human casualties to make, like, lefties happy. This is a fantasy. I'm sorry. This entire conflict just got made so much more complicated, and as much as I want to be able to take the easy, like, receive nothing but praise and claps from my audience position of, like, it's as simple as Israel is bad and is always bad because they're killing children. Like, Hamas is also bad. Iran's government is also quite fucking bad. We don't want them gaining a strong foothold by potentially crippling Israel, which is our foothold in the Middle East. We don't want Iran gaining a foothold in the Middle East. Hassan is American. I think he was born in America. He is a born American citizen. Like, he should have some level of concern about countries that are outright hostile towards America and its allies, who are actively developing nuclear capabilities as we speak, actively developing it, if not already done, probably not. The idea of being like, yeah, no, these are the good guys, absolutely fucking insane, dude. I'm sorry. At this point, it is both a geopolitical, strategic move to back Israel at this point, especially if any potential conflict with Iran happens. And on top of that, it would be political suicide for Biden to do this. Like, there's not going to be any soldiers from America put on the ground, obviously. Like, I think Biden's getting at that. Like, is America going to send soldiers? Is it going to be World War III? Obviously not. Like, why would he make a video like this, too? I feel like now is the best time for you guys to go back to my stream yesterday and look at my coverage of this thing and how I was talking about how I don't want to speculate on anything, and I waited to cover this as my last topic of the stream and push my stream to the end of the day so I could make sure as much news was out about this and as much confirmed info was out about this before I covered it as possible. Meanwhile, Hassan just immediately covering that shit, making shit up, fear-mongering, like spinning a fantasy tale as we speak to try to, a made-up scenario he is imagining right now to justify his position he has, preempting a non-existent event that might happen.
Hug and no red lines approach to Benjamin Netanyahu caused Israel to feel like they could do whatever the they wanted, and they could very easily bring America into the conflict. And
Joe Biden has been so lax with Israel that they feel like they can do whatever they want. Dude, people like Hassan and people on this side of the left necessarily always have to end up whitewashing Republicans and the far right. Donald Trump is in loud and very proud support of not just Israel, but Israel crushing the Palestinians. He said that this conflict would be over by now if he was president because he would have given everything to Israel they needed to wipe out Hamas. You can guess what that means. The problem is people like Hassan, you have to understand that like a large proportion of lefties online right now that are advocating for Palestinians and Gaza and all that, they don't actually care. Okay? They are legitimately grifters, whether it be grifting money like Hassan or just kind of grifting social status and likes. A lot of people in the online left, especially those in this sphere, are massive no-lifes whose entire social life exists online on social media. And they have a very small circle or bubble that they need to keep happy, and they want to gain like a sort of, you know, that social XP and that level, those levels, you know? And trying to out-woke each other, or not even out-woke each other, honestly. This is more so just trying to out-anti-America each other, is essentially how they get ahead in this space. And Hassan kind of acts as like the gravitational mass at the center of this orbit of very, very dumb people that identify with the label leftist.
They violated numerous red lines, as you guys know, both the ethnic cleansing in Gaza, but beyond that, way more severe red lines that they violated, such as
I'm curious. What like institution considers what is happening in Gaza an ethnic cleansing? Like, are there any human rights institutions that are like really well reputable and like agreed upon to not be like super biased in like a particular country's favor or something, for any weird reasons that could be easy to pick apart for somebody? Like, is there grounds to say what's happening in Gaza is an ethnic cleansing? Because technically what's happening in Gaza doesn't even meet international law's definition of a genocide, which is, you know, I think a kind of a mark on the definition of genocide by international law, less so than a sort of like, oh yeah, Israel's doing nothing wrong kind of point. But regardless, the idea that like there's any definitional claim from large institutions or anything along those lines to claim that how Israel is handling their conflict with Hamas is an ethnic cleansing, that is extreme. Why not just call it mass killing because of like indiscriminate bombings and strikes on Hamas? Like, they're not, from everything that I have been able to tell, the goal is not to wipe out all Palestinians. It is to take out Hamas, who is attacking Israel. They just don't care how many of the human shields Hamas uses. They have to shoot through to get to it. And that's the horrific thing about Israel. Hamas uses human shields, and Israel doesn't fucking care most of the time. Well, I'm sure most of the time they do. To be real, I've seen a lot of like stories where they evacuate people out before they strike like a Hamas camp. But too often, like every other day, every few days, I'm hearing about a bunch of children getting blown up in an IDF airstrike. So clearly there's a problem there, but the clear, like, at least explicitly stated, there does not seem to be a national objective right now of ethnically cleansing the Palestinian people.
Striking Beirut, Lebanon, not just southern Lebanon.
Yes, Israel has targeted okay, you spelled it mosquitoes almost. Mosques, hospitals, and the university. That's a lot of cultural backbone. So you understand that Gaza is like the size of like an old Fallout map, right? Like an old map in a video game. It's not very large, you know? Hamas controls that area and operates out of every intact, solid building that they can. They're in hospitals, they're in schools, they're in churches. They aren't, like, going to avoid those buildings. If anything, they're going to choose them because of the slightest chance that the IDF might not bomb those buildings because of what they are. That, like, I need you guys to think for a moment about these things. I know you guys just want to get mad at me because I'm not saying what you want me to say. I'm not falling into audience capture like Hassan does, and I actually do research, and I don't just repeat what's popular to say on Twitter, but I need you guys to just think for a moment. There's no evidence that Israel's currently conducting an ethnic cleansing. What they are conducting, however, this is not a defense of Israel. What they are conducting, however, is a mass colonization effort that involves the displacement and killing of countless people in another nation. So, this is not a defense of Israel. It's just that the way Hassan talks about this stuff is a problem. It may sound like I'm being, what's the word for it? Pedantic? It may sound like I'm being pedantic and, like, hyper fixating on certain definitions, but I think it's important to pay attention to the way Hassan words this stuff because it's very emotional on purpose. And there's a difference between evoking emotion on an important issue to motivate people to care and evoking emotion on an important issue to make people fall for your misinformation. Because Hassan's doing the latter, not the former here.
But straight up striking Beirut, and then another red line when they struck the Iranian consulate and the Iranian consulate compound in Syria, in Damascus. Beyond that, obviously, there were, of course, locations that were attacking Americans versus the Iranian proxy groups in both Syria and Iraq. That is the norm, just like it was the norm for Hezbollah to strike targets in northern Syria versus Israel striking targets in southern Lebanon. But there were moments where Israel went above and beyond in the most belligerent fashion, likely escalating the tensions in the region and likely creating more destabilization with the hopes that they could bring the United States of America into the conflict directly. Benjamin Netanyahu's plane is already in the air, by the way. This is an amazing story by Tal Shalev, ahead of a possible...
Biden won't do it. Unless America gets, like, directly striked, or one of America's really close allies gets directly striked. Not even Israel, but I mean, like, I don't know, Britain or something gets striked. I can't see America... I mean, even then, fuck. America putting boots in the ground, particularly Biden signing off on that. Like, Biden issuing that executive order would be political suicide. He's already teetering on the edge of probability to win this election coming November, but I just don't see him signing that executive order and doing something that he damn well knows would be an extremely unpopular decision. Sorry, dude, but you look at the Israeli strategy, looking at a map, Israel has been trying to force Gazans to move south with death and destruction. They want to squeeze them all out through Egypt. You're blind, Zan. Your understanding, Xander Hall, is highly myopic. You realize you're one of these people. You're so emotional. I'm gonna ban you, okay? You're gonna take a nice rest tonight, I hope. I hope you go take a nap, have some hot chocky, maybe, like brew yourself some hot chocolate or a nice coffee. Have yourself like a nice nap, take some deep breaths, you know, relax a little bit. I want you to think about this issue, and maybe when you wake up, you'll understand why you're dumb. No, I am not defending Israel. I know you very, very badly want to hear what I'm saying right now and hear it as a defense of Israel. What I am pointing out right now is that Hassan is trying very badly to weaponize the fact that you are all, and rightly so, very upset about the fact that countless, fuck, how many children has it been that have died in Gaza now? It's in the tens of thousands, nearly like 30K or something like that. It's a pretty like stark and fucking terrifying number. We are not defending Israel. I am not defending Israel. That's for damn sure. I am pointing out the fact that Hassan is weaponizing your anger, your emotional state that has been changed by this knowledge that there's nothing. It feels like there's nothing you can do about the fact that there are countless children dying in Gaza in order to make you not think with your head. You're not thinking. Who even watches Hassan? I mean, way more people than watch me. Like, I mean, what? Like, you could say that, but I mean, way more people watch Hassan than watch me. So, a lot of people, Astro Garlo. I mean, it's definitely a problem that a lot of people on the left think this way. It's not an insignificant number, unless, I mean, if it's an insignificant number of people who follow Hassan, then I don't even know how insignificant I am and my following is.
Attack from Iran. Netanyahu moved over the weekend to the house of Simon Falek in Jerusalem, which according to previous reports is a fortified bunker. Falek is a U.S. billionaire, a GOP donor, and the owner of Duty Free America. Netanyahu stayed at his house at the beginning of the war after rockets were fired on Jerusalem.
U.S. officials have officially confirmed that Iran has launched those drones toward Israel. We know that the president has ended his weekend in Delaware, is on his way back to the White House. He is meeting with his national security team there. What more can you tell us about what they're going to be doing there? Who's meeting with him in that Situation Room? And also,
I told you, by the way, that they would stop saying this is retaliatory the moment that drones were in the air, and approximately 23 minutes after the drones were in the air, they've already dropped the whole pretense, like why Iran.
This is literally false. I covered this last night, hours after Hassan did this entire segment, because I actually waited for later, like way later into the day, until information was actually out about this instead of just speculating. And they were still referring to it constantly as a retaliatory attack against Israel for the strike they did on their consulate. So, like, I don't... He's just lying here. Like, isn't it nice how Hassan will do this thing, and conservatives do this thing too, where they just kind of make, like, an emotional claim that can't really be... It's unfalsifiable. Like, they'll drop this talking point. That's unfalsifiable. There's no way I could, like, get him in a call and be like, prove that they were going to drop this talking point, or that they did. And technically I can, because I was like, I was covering this after he covered it. So this particular point I happen to know is bullshit and can prove that it's bullshit by, like, I guess I could bring up my stream from yesterday if you wanted. But most people would not have the prerequisite knowledge required, or even the thought to think of what he just said there as being a pretty baseless and bullshit claim. Like, yes, the media is going to drop this line of calling it a retaliation attack, which they did not do. But as long as he said they would do it, and people forgot that he said that, and it just had the effect of making people, for a moment, a little angrier at America, then they move on, and it's not a big deal. Hassan is arguably just a left-wing person, a left-leaning person, who uses the same exact strategies across the board as conservatives, not just for gaining a following, but for engaging with politics, just as dishonest as a conservative, despite holding superficially progressive values.
Did this and are reframing the narrative as Iran struck first. And you will see red lines are being crossed by Iran against Israel is the standing narrative. So quickly did it change. Yesterday, I told you yesterday that this was going to happen, and it's already happening. Israel has a right to defend itself.
It has not happened. It has been referred to as a retaliatory attack by at least CNN, which my understanding, this is literally what Hassan's watching, is CNN. We literally covered CNN. When was I live covering this? It would have been, me and Hassan are in the same time zone. I'm in Seattle, he's in LA, so like we're on the same time zone. So for him, this would have been, he covers his time. Damn it. Can we see 4:23 p.m. Eastern time? So that would have been 7 p.m. I ended my stream at, like, what, 8 or 9 last night? I think it was, like, 9. So I would have been doing that segment around 9 p.m. PST, and he was doing this around 7. So when I did my segment at 9 p.m., I was reading like excerpts from CNN's like live updates. I was reading like excerpts from CNN's live updates where they were referring to it as a retaliatory attack. I'm pretty sure they're probably still doing it right now. Much as I disagree with Zan on this, by definition, what Israel is doing isn't ethnic cleansing. Wait a second. Then what do you disagree with me on here in Anzi Web? Wait, what? As much as I disagree with Zan on this, by definition, what Israel is doing isn't ethnic cleansing. So my argument is, I don't like Israel, and I'm not defending them, but what they're doing isn't ethnic cleansing, and calling it that is just emotional manipulation of people's beliefs. This is literally that one meme where it says, where like the guy like replies no to the lady and then repeats exactly what she said on Twitter. Jesus Christ, what do you disagree with? I genuinely think that Hassan just, like, he is so successful at manipulating people's emotions. Like, they will hear me say something that they agree with, but I'm criticizing Hassan, and Hassan's saying America bad. So surely I must be in the wrong. So even though there's nothing that you could necessarily say that I said wrong, I have to be in the wrong anyway, I guess. Okay.
Is going to be the meta again.
At the same time, I do think it's important to underscore that Iran has been very clear and has telegraphed that it will mete out a retaliation for that attack on the Iranian compound, the diplomatic embassy compound in Damascus on April 1st. And so some are extrapolating from that by telegraphing it so clearly, Iran is trying to find that precise point. And this is where it gets dangerous and difficult.
She's doing a decent job
between escalating and retaliating and avoiding creating a scenario that you can't pull back from the brink of. There is always the capacity for things to go wrong.
Whoever hurts us, we hurt them. We will protect ourselves from any threat and will do so with coolness and determination. I know that you citizens of Israel are also keeping your cool. I urge you to listen to the directives of the Home Front Command. Together we will stand, and with God's help, together we will overcome all our enemies.
Oh, finally, we got the weirdos in here again. So you're rooting for Iran. If this prompts a response from the U.S., it could mean economic collapse and further escalation. Iran controls oil exports. Millions could die. It's not good that Iran escalated now. What the f*** do you mean? If you're mad that Iran retaliated to Israel, you should be incredibly angry at Joe Biden and incredibly angry at Israel for literally...
You should support Iran because, like, this literally makes no fucking sense. He is just desperate, mind you, during election year, to push his left-leaning, potentially Democrat voting audience not to vote. That is, I guarantee you, I am alleging a conspiracy right now. All of the don't vote Democrat lefties push for this because when a Republican is president, all their viewership goes up. Don't believe me? Check Social Blade. Look at mainstream media. This doesn't even just apply to YouTubers and streamers. Media viewership takes hit in first 100 days of Biden presidency. Yep, here it is, The Hill. Okay, had to find it in my search history. TV news ratings online readership plunge during Biden's first 100 days. So here's like a segment that they did on this topic, I guess. Basically, if you're ever wondering why people like Hassan and so many of these lefty figures are pushing for people not to vote for Biden, despite the fact that Trump is so evidently, like, just needs to not be reelected, and it just seems insane that they could possibly justify this position. Remember, this has been the truth across the board for every left-leaning political outlet, frankly, every media outlet that covers politics since Biden got elected.
Broadcast and cable news ratings, along with website traffic, are all taking a hit in the post-Trump era. During President Biden's first 100 days in office, weekly full-day cable ratings for CNN and MSNBC have been trending down, according to statistics from the ratings company Nielsen. On average, 1.3 million household viewers were watching MSNBC in the last week of January, shortly after Biden took office. For the week ending April 25th, that number was 868,000.
It continues to drop. It continues to drop even as we get towards the next election. And the reason for that is that Biden's done a pretty good job, and things have been somewhat normal, stable. People aren't living in constant fear of a Republican president, which means people aren't constantly, watching left-wing political content because they're afraid of what's happening. Things have been getting bad all around the country, sure, but without sort of a central figure to tie it all together who holds a strong position of power, it's hard to get that desire and that sort of motivation to be politically active going on. And Hassan's numbers have been dropping quite immensely as of late. Here, Social Blade, Hassan Nabi, yeah, look at this. This is his main YouTube channel. Or is this his Twitch? Yeah, this is his Twitch. Holy shit. Yeah, he's losing followers every day. He's live right now, and he's gained 1,000 followers today, but he's lost 4,000 followers on Twitch in the last 30 days. He's in the negative per month. If we look at his gained followers, is this YouTube? Huh. No, this is his Twitch. It doesn't show you, his constant viewership, unfortunately. What his concurrent viewers per stream are. It just shows you what his, I don't know why it's bugged out here. But you can see for his gained followers, it's dropping. He's now, losing. What was the dip? I have no clue what this dip was. Maybe he deleted a bunch of VODs or something? No fucking idea. Hassan's. You can go back to, 2019, and you can see, 2020, 2021. During the midst of the election time, everything spiked. During the midst of the election. Hassan's entire uprising happened from the beginning of 2019 up until the end of the election, and then what happened after Biden got elected? He managed to get a few spikes back up, but ever since then, just like every other figure and lefty YouTuber and streamer across the board, besides maybe a few people like Destiny, who's been pretty solidly rising, he's just been pittering out. Because the fact is, the left only does well in terms of media coverage of frankly anything when times are bad. And so Hassan needs times to be bad again. There needs to be a pandemic going on with people. Notice how different Hassan's coverage of the Democrats compared to the Republicans was when the Republicans were in power. When Trump was in power, when COVID was happening and all that, it was nonstop criticism of conservatives, nonstop criticism of anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers, talking about how big a deal COVID is, how many people are dying. But now that we're at threat of repeating all of that again, he encourages people to do nothing about it. Because all of that rhetoric, all of that talking about how bad Trump is, and all of that talking about how bad Republicans are back then, was nothing but serving to gain support, to gain clout. And now that we're in the stable period and he's just losing clout, he wants to go back to the left online being scared again and wanting to watch lefty content to hear about what the crazy President Donald Trump is doing. Hassan is in a position where effectively he will not be affected, possibly at all, by another Trump presidency. Even if the worst case scenario happens, he's very wealthy. So for him, he has basically everything to lose and nothing to gain from letting Biden get reelected.
Getting it to this level, for allowing Israel to feel comfortable in drawing the United States into this broader conflict. Iran didn't escalate. Iran retaliated. If Clarissa Ward on CNN can understand that fact, if Clarissa Ward on CNN is saying that Iran is trying to retaliate in an even fashion so that they do not...
Wait, now he's coping. Wait, he just said they're dropping the retaliation talking point. And now he's saying, wait, okay, so even if she on CNN is saying it's retaliation, then it's very obvious. Wait, you just said that all the media was dropping that point, And they just said that it was retaliation, so you had to quick think up a way of making that not be an instant disapproval of your bullshit point you made before. Mind-blowing.
Draw an even larger response from Israel, you should be able to understand that too. It is wild to assume that a regional actor that has developed its weapons capabilities specifically for this purpose is not going to retaliate when their own soil is struck. The Damascus consulate
Okay. They retaliated? All right. So what does America do now? They're not Biden's not putting soldiers on the ground in Iran or anywhere around there. They're just saying, yeah, we'll support you, Israel, because you're our ally. If you get fucking ICBM'd into oblivion, we'll be there to back you up. Like we've agreed to, because we signed treaties for this shit, and we've got massive agreements that have been around since before the people who are currently sitting in their current seats of power have been in their seats of power. So I feel like Hassan just makes so much money off of oversimplifying politics for the lowest common denominator of people on the left. And I encounter Hassan fans online fairly regularly, and it's genuinely depressing to see them because I worry that normal people will see their tweets and the way they talk and behave and think I'm one of them. I worry. The only time I ever feel self-conscious and worried is that I worry that normal people will think I'm with Hassan and that I'm him, I truly despise him and hope to God that nobody thinks that I am like him.
Compound is Iranian soil. Israel greatly escalated it. The reason why you didn't hear about it is because mainstream media barely covered it. It was a blip. When it was a major move, the United States' response to Israel's major move was to say, oh, they didn't tell us. That's really fucked up that they didn't tell us ahead of time. This is awful. This is going to possibly ruin the lives of many people in Israel. It's probably going to ruin the lives of many people in Iran, and would, if, depending on what happens after this, depending on how this round...
What fault lies on the leadership in Iran for not, because they could have just not responded with the retaliatory strike? Because Hassan, I know, because he said it, has said that America was wrong to drop nukes on Japan. And I think it's a fair argument. But that was a retaliatory strike to Japan striking Pearl Harbor, our own land. Also indigenous land, too. So it's you could argue that was also an incursion on indigenous territory, of which the Japanese did a lot of during World War II, by the way. So it's why was that bad? But what Iran is doing is not. Granted, Iran did not nuke Israel, but I think if Iran nuked Israel, we would probably see Hassan do a Iran W stream. We all know that if Iran nuked Israel, Hassan's next stream would be Massive Iran W. That would be the title of it. You know that, right? Without a single drop of shame, and he would just be praising Iran despite the countless incinerated civilians. Hassan would be talking about how all these, Israeli civilians that got fucking incinerated in a nuclear strike were all in favor of ethnic cleansing, so they deserved it or something. And if you think that's crazy, then you've never seen the side of lefty Twitter that says it's okay to rape women as long as they're Nazis or racists or really far right. Because there are people on the left who are truly that vile.
Of retaliation goes and how Israel chooses to escalate, and given that they've been violent and belligerent from the jump, which caused this retaliation to happen to begin with, I worry that this will have global consequences. I hope not, but the next couple of days will determine the future of this planet. It can be a tempered approach. The United States will rein in Israel and say, listen, they took pot shots back at you after you took pot shots. You just got to take the L here. Or it can mean full-scale global conflict. I have a little faith in the USA that can handle this appropriately. The reason why this is happening today is because the USA has not handled it appropriately.
What do you mean? Handle it appropriately? Okay, for one, I do not in any way, shape, or form trust a Hassan fan's judgment of what is an appropriate way to respond to this. what would be the appropriate way to respond to this? I don't think that the average person even has enough knowledge about the, like, about what's going on here to be able to make that decision. There's a reason why people were posting on Twitter. I don't know if this is real or not, so take it with a grain of salt. But if it is, it's quite funny, and I think it probably is. The Papa John's down the street from the Pentagon, like maybe 2 blocks away, saw like a maybe 120 to 140% increase in activity for sales and like in business down the street, like from the Pentagon during this whole thing. Oh, I saw that too, Zan. Yeah, like it seems like all the people in the Pentagon, they're stocking up on pizza big time. They're pulling an all-nighter, eating pizza and planning shit with like a big projector board talking about information and intel that we will never have, at least until that stuff gets declassified in like 30 years or something. So it's just hilarious to me how these random, like, Hassan subs think they know anything about... my argument here is that none of us know enough about geopolitics to say what the appropriate way to respond to this is. These people are arguing they know, and they don't trust America to make that decision. I'd argue America has a pretty good track record considering where it stands on the world totem pole.
If Anthony Blinken, like he tweeted on October 8th, urged Israel to de-escalate and urged restraint for Israel, if that tweet had been kept up after that meeting with Hakan Fidan, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, after Anthony Blinken and Hakan Fidan had a conversation on October 8th, that was something that Anthony Blinken tweeted and deleted very quickly. If that was the attitude from October 8th, it would have never gotten to this point, because Israel would know that there are red lines. Israel would know that there are boundaries that they cannot cross if they demand unconditional support from the United States of America. Biden, on the other hand, reaffirmed his commitment to Israel, said that there were no red lines, symbolically bear-hugged Benjamin Netanyahu, and said, go all out. You've watched what Israel has done.
He did not say go all out. He said we stand with Israel because Israel is our ally. Nothing here has changed. I will say it's sad that we have to go back to Biden, like, openly, like, praising Israel because of this attack, as opposed to the pretty clear criticism he's been giving lately and being, like, the headliner of the Gaza ceasefire, the Gaza-Israel ceasefire. But obviously none of that was ever given as credit to Biden. Nothing that Biden does that could actually lead to less Palestinian people getting hurt will be covered by the likes of Hassan. That will never, ever happen because Hassan doesn't care about the Palestinians that are going to live. Hassan cares about the dead and wounded Palestinians that he can weaponize for content. This is all about content and clout farming at the end of the day.
In the last 6 months after that. When you tell Israel no red lines, they're going to keep crossing the red lines that other regional actors have drawn. Understandable red lines that other regional actors have drawn. You let the dog off the leash. That's the point. Okay, official IRGC statement. Breaking. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps releases a statement. In response to the crime of the Zionist regime and the attack on the consular section of the Iranian embassy in Damascus, the IRGC Air Force hit certain targets in the territories of the Zionist regime with dozens of drones.
Has he, the only thing he's used that isn't Twitter as a source is CNN, which he's been like ripping on the whole time and just lying about what they would say. Does he ever use a single source that's not, oh, this isn't CNN, Reuters. Okay. He actually uses Reuters. Iran says it wouldn't need to retaliate if UN had condemned strike on Damascus. Why would that make a difference? Why would a condemnation, this is just the government of a country making a decision. They don't even have a democracy in Iran, do they? Like, is Hassan arguing that the people of Iran, like, made this decision? I'm not going to make a claim that I know what the general consensus is among, like, Iranian citizens, but, like, I'm assuming that, like, this wasn't a decision made democratically. It was a decision made unilaterally. So... It's a theocracy? Okay, yeah, of course Hassan's defending it then. Okay, that makes sense. Man, a lot of... He really loves Twitter, doesn't he? He used one non-Twitter source outside of his dunking on CNN. Like, I've skimmed through all of this. He's used one look how many tweets he goes through.
People in Israel. Montana stands with them against this unprovoked attack. Unprovoked attack from Iran. To be fair, he's from Montana, bro. They don't got internet over there, okay? He probably doesn't know. He gets his information from carrier pigeon. I can't shit on him too hard, you know what?
Carrier pigeon? Okay. it's Montana. It would be by horse or like goat or something. But all right, like something that grazes because it's Montana. But all right. Anyway, Hassan getting absolutely cooked right now. We love to see it. What are the comments on, or what are the comments looking like? Getting drafted for World War III before GTA 6, about as brain dead as expected. Imagine starting a world war on behalf of Israel, about as brain dead as expected. I love how the so-called Middle Eastern extremists are the only ones exercising restraint. Iran exercised restraint, about as brain dead as expected. Israel attacked the Iranian embassy, and I thought it was a consulate. I guess same thing, I guess. And Iran has the right and the obligation to defend itself. I mean, then did America have the right to defend? The thing is, I know these people aren't consistent on this standard. I would be a little less, like, incredulous right now if I knew that these people would not immediately switch up their standard if it was America in the exact same position. It's really depressing watching all of this happen and having no power whatsoever to do anything about it. Oh, yeah. I'm sure not voting will do a lot to give you more power. Dude, I can't read. If I read another comment, I'm going to lose it. Oh my God, these are the people who say not to vote. These are the people who say not to vote. And they're commenting shit like, it's depressing watching this happen and having no power whatsoever to do anything about it. Holy shit. You can vote is at least one comment. On what? IDK, would Trump pull out of this? There is something to do about it because governments care about public opinion. If we demonstrate war is unacceptable and we reject it completely, they'll stop. They want to get reelected and not have domestic turmoil. Nobody in America likes war. Maybe the next iteration of human civilization will move on from capitalism at the proper time. Yeah, vote for the same policy, different lunatic. So yeah, they all immediately get angry if you suggest voting as a way of having any way of having, like, any method of having power over outcomes that occur around the world. God, I really hate this side of the left. I hope that Hassan and the types of content creators that he has fostered and empowered die off soon. It really is a blight. It is a true blight, and I worry that the left and the right online, effectively, might end up being somewhat comparable in terms of their lack of commitment to the truth. Obviously, the left will never be as bad as the right online because the left doesn't stand for, like, pure hatred and, like, evil in the same way the right does, but there's a difference between being on the right side politically and having a dedication to caring about reality, and those aren't mutually those are mutually exclusive things, you know. They aren't the same thing, you know. Like, there are plenty of lefties who don't care about the truth or reality. They just care about their ideology, and they have the right ideology, or at least mostly right ideology, but their way of reaching those conclusions is bad. And if their way of reaching conclusions is bad, that means their way of engaging with politics and issues is typically going to be bad as well. And that's so many Hassan fans have encountered, but not all of them. I mean, Hassan has very broad normie appeal. Most Hassan fans are honestly just sort of normal people, but those people are quite quickly kind of draining away from his community as his numbers drop, and they're like moving to other people. Primarily Destiny. Like, Destiny's numbers have shot up massively as Hassan's numbers have dropped, which I'm sure he's very happy about. That's got to be pretty, what's the word for it? Satisfying revenge against Hassan, I guess. But if Hassan's career dies, then the same probably happens to Destiny too? No, definitely not. No. Destiny's been around a lot longer than Hassan, and will certainly outlive Hassan. Probably coming out of this whole thing larger than he was when he met Hassan. Oh, I agree, Lefty Jenna, but unfortunately, like, if I could trade, like, Hassan falling off for Destiny being the biggest political figure, I would. Like, Destiny can be, like, a little cringe on quite a few issues, and particularly, like, he's been extraordinarily awful to people that I like. But his politics are such that I would prefer if he was, like, the largest political figure rather than someone like Russell Brand, you know? Or you know, even someone on the left like Hassan. If Hassan could just fall off the face of the earth, then Destiny would be the biggest, like, political streamer. I would take that trade. That's fair? I think that's very fair. I think it's very, very fair. But I'm curious what you guys think, so comment down below. I really am curious. I like reading your comments, especially lately. They've been quite interesting. Very interesting indeed. If you want to support the channel also, please consider leaving a like. Every single thumbs up really does go a very long way to support the channel, so it means a lot to me when you guys drop those little thumbs up. It takes half a second, and each one means a lot, so seriously, consider dropping one. Whether you're watching live, or as a video, or on a VOD, I really do appreciate it. And maybe consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub to support me financially if you can afford it on my website, or supporting me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon. You can also buy merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. And finally, don't forget to join my fan Discord. We do all sorts of events and fun things like watch parties, like we'll be doing after this very stream, continuing from this awesome horror mystery show we've been watching in the Discord after this stream. And we also do call-in streams somewhat regularly, so join the Discord. I also do announcements. It's a really fun place, so get in there. Links all down below in the description. Hopefully you enjoyed.